to the forestry open house, what is the cycling association?
Well, the things that we've asked the licensees to do is present their case to the public as to why they think the area, or what their plans are just to log, and why they think it's a good thing to do, and what their rights and obligations are from the government. Because the logging companies are the ones doing the work, but they're doing it under the system as laid out by the provincial government. They really don't have a choice. The government mandates to them, they have an annual allowable cut that they have to follow, and the mandate from the provincial government is every merchantable tree will be cut down at some point. So if they don't go in and log in the areas that are appointed to them, then in theory anyway, the government could come and just take it away and hand it to somebody else. So they need to explain that. They need to explain, in BCTS's case, they have what they call a go slow approach in the Macpherson area. They haven't been logging as much as they, in their words, they probably should have been over the years. They recognize there are recreational values there. So it's up to them to explain that. You know, I'm not here to argue their case by any means. I would prefer that we were just left to build trails in where we wanted and nobody else would bother us. But that's not the way the government has laid out the system. And so it's up to them, the licensees, to explain that. And we also want an opportunity for the Cycling Association members and the general public to express their concerns. We weren't involved at all with the open house at Begbie Falls. I wasn't personally in the country when that happened. I gather there was some. It didn't go particularly well, so I'm not going to prejudge the open house that's coming up here next week until after it happens. And so as far as the Cycling Association goes, our plan is to take this as a sort of staged. In the short term, we'll see what happens, what people's response is at the open house, and then we'll kind of reevaluate what our next move is. One of the main things that we would like to come out of this whole situation is that we have a better long-term plan for what's happening in the whole area, really. It seems like to us that the rate of logging has suddenly increased very dramatically. And if that's going to be the case, then, well, like I say, we want to know about it and have as much input into what's happening as possible. So, we don't go and build a big signature trail and then a year later it's logged. And or if a trail like TNT, which is a signature trail, is going to be logged, we know with lots of lead time. So maybe we can go and work on another signature trail sort of ahead of time, so we have more overlap. Just really a more overall global picture. I think years ago there was local land use committees that could be formed, which was in place in the Lower Begbie bench area years ago. I know that the legislation that formed those doesn't exist anymore, but if we can get stakeholders like the city and the CSRD and us, and maybe all to sit down with licensees and come up with a more overall plan for the area, I think it would be beneficial in the long run. But that's more longer term goals. In the short term, it's what's specifically going to happen on the trails that are impacted now. Well, Megan Tabor at Tourism Revelstoke has been working on that. She did a survey in the summer on our trails and she'll be giving a presentation to council shortly and she has some, I haven't actually seen it yet. She's going to give a presentation to us, the RCA board, shortly as well. It's a little harder to define. It's fairly easy to come up with specific numbers for the logging. for tourism, I think Megan has come up with some specific numbers for the logging. How much the tourism dollar will change with the specific logging that's going to happen now is probably a little harder to identify. So it's a bit more anecdotal, but I think in the longer term, the tourism dollars in Revelstoke are important and getting more important. But pinning down specific dollars like you can with the logging is more of a challenge. No, I don't think so. We just want people to get as informed as they can and have as much feedback to the licensees and to us, to RCA. We have a bit of a balancing act to do because we have agreements in place with the Ministry of Sites and Trails BC and with the logging companies that we want to maintain, but we also want to reflect the wishes of our members. So we want them to be informed as to what the situation is and what options we have, because we have all our trails are built legally. We get approval from government to build them. That gives us no right to that land. The logging companies are the ones that hold all the cards, and the government. So, all we can do is really lobby for and try and get as much goodwill as we can from the logging companies. It's really up to their land use decisions, which is provincial government. Even the city doesn't really have that much leverage.
Okay.
So public opinion is important. So the more the public expresses their opinion, the more leverage we'll have potentially to make some positive changes and get longer term plans in place and maybe minimize some of the impact on existing trails.